Hi, and welcome back to the study. Last time I introduced you to the PST squared plus IC cubed formula for synthesis of multiple multimodal internet texts, and I thought aloud as I worked through and applied each of the 10 strategies in the formula. This time we're going to focus only on the second half of the formula, identifying important ideas, comparing, connecting, and continually updating. Now, I've already thought about my purpose, which is to explore the pros and cons of nuclear fission so that I can develop an argument for a leader thinking about the development of a nuclear program for energy production in his or her country. And I've already written down my background knowledge. So you can see here I've written down some pros and cons of nuclear fission that I think I already know before I do any reading. I've also selected two sources, an informational website and a video. And I'm going to go to the informational website first. All right, so I'm going to skim and scan this site to see if I can find any information that could be useful. Purpose is always driving my decisions about what's important. If I can use it to develop my argument on this topic, then I'm definitely going to give it a close look. Now, there's a lot of information on this website. I'm going to start with a summary because here I might find something that I can use in my argument. Okay, so let's look here. The first sentence says that nuclear power plants emit less than 1/100th the greenhouse gases of coal or gas-fired electric plants. So I'm going to put that here. I definitely think that I can use that. If I go back here. Oh, I didn't know that before. All right, I think I can use this information as well. Good. Okay, so I've got 3 pieces of information, and I think they're all pros. Right. But now I'm going to ask myself 3 important questions. Good online readers really strategically ask themselves about how this information compares with their background knowledge. So the first question that you should ask yourself is, does this information back up something that I already know? The second question is, does this information contradict or go against something that I thought I knew? And the third question is this completely new information that takes my understanding in a new direction, or does it deepen my understanding in some way? Well, this first information about the greenhouse gases backs up this point that I was making in my background knowledge, but it kind of contradicts it in a little bit of a way because I thought there was no air pollution and clearly there is some. So I'm going to put down a little point here saying that there's less air pollution. It's not emissions free. Okay, that's important. All right, the next point. This is not something that I knew before. I had no idea that it was so cost effective, it seems, to develop a nuclear power plant. So that's an additional piece of information that deepens my understanding. Same with this. I knew that we'd been using nuclear power for quite some time, but I didn't know how much uranium there was and for how long we could sustain nuclear power generation. So that's good information. And as I update my understanding or continually update my understanding, I feel as though I have a much broader understanding of the pros, but I don't really know very much about the cons. So I'm going to go to the video to see if I can learn more about the cons.
The most important advantages of nuclear power are probably that it's time-tested. We've been using it now for more than 50 years. The second advantage is that in principle there are no physical constraints, they're not scalable. And third, of course, it has minimal CO2 emissions compared to fossil fuels. The main disadvantages of nuclear power are the risk of catastrophic accident, unresolved issues with regard to nuclear waste disposal, and in my view, the most important disadvantage, the potential connection to nuclear proliferation, the weapons connection.
Oops. Okay, let's go back to my notes. Now, before I write down about the cons, I do want to make a connection because there's one piece of information that I thought I knew, that I read, and that I heard again here, and that's important. The nuclear physicist mentioned in the video that nuclear energy has low CO2 emissions. Not no emissions, but low CO2 emissions. So that's a piece of information that I found in 2 different locations, and when that happens, you can usually trust it. Of course, there are exceptions. Just think about all of the urban myths, everybody thinks those are true, but they're not. But if you've gone to 2 trustworthy sites and you find the same information in 2 places, you can probably assume that the information is true. And it's really important to try to find those similarities across the sources that you're using. All right, let's go down to the cons now, because I remember 3 of them. The first one was catastrophic accident, and that backs up something that I already knew. The meltdowns, I knew about Chernobyl, and that's pretty horrible. The second one was waste, and I did know that there's questions about what to do with nuclear waste that remain. The third point, however, which she said is the most dangerous, I guess, or the most important con, is the weapons connection. And that is not something that I knew before or that I thought about before, but it's clearly very important. So I would want to add that to any argument that I developed. All right, so as I update my understanding, I feel like I have a much broader understanding of the pros and cons of nuclear fission. However, before I can make my argument, I really do feel that I need to understand how likely it is that a disaster would occur, and that's what I would search for next. However, now it is your turn. So as you read, please ask yourself how the information you find compares and connects as you build your argument. Look for those comparisons and look for those connections. Then update your understanding by asking yourself what you understand, but also questions that will help you to refine your next search so that you can fill in what you don't yet understand. Happy reading!